business. I want to hit the significance of business. I want to talk about the framework for thriving, which is a strategy or a stages framework that I've come up with in terms of how you progress moving forward strategically. And then we're going to hit a perspective on progression. Progression is one of the most critical things that you have to focus on when you're building and growing your business, because if you can't measure it, then you don't know whether or not you're ever going to get to whatever your objective is as you move forward. So I want you to leave with a philosophical change in thinking in terms of how you do business strategically. We talked about operational levels. Who was here for Justin? Justin was phenomenal. I mean, the things he covered and what he talked about, that's just, it's logical, it's systematic, it's progressive, it's measurable, and all those things can help you to move forward. So a little bit about me and how I got here is I was 27 years in the military, Air Force. I was an aviator. And after that, I decided that I didn't want to work for anybody ever again. Ever. Times 25. And the reason was because my military career was a great career. I was an aviator, so I was flying for my first 11 years. The next 16 years, I was on higher headquarters staff. I had very interesting leadership roles and leadership positions and places that I was able to travel and to live. So it was by no means a bad experience. But I'm a strategic thinker by nature, and that's my gift. And so in the Air Force was more corporate than the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, just a different mental philosophy altogether. And so by nature, these organizations are short-term. They're measured by the length of your assignment, or in corporate, they're measured by the quarter and the quarterly results. So you can't execute strategically. And when I started to see that after 27 years, and my next level would have been general officer, and I realized that I wasn't even going to be able to have an impact as a higher ranking officer, I very felt that was time for me to leave. And I couldn't go corporate because it was going to be the same thing. So that's when I had to figure out what was going to be my next role, or what I was going to do next. Now, I'm an introvert. And as an introvert, yes, I am. I'll tell you something about introverts. People think introverts are shy, quiet, reserved, not able to stand up in front of people and speak, but that's not it at all. Introverts are simply introspective, and we're in our head, and we can't get out of our head until what's in our head is correct, is absolutely correct. Why is that? So extroverts are different. They are externally positioned or thought, and they learn while they talk. So an extrovert will talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and you're like, you started here, you went here, you went here, you went here, you went here, and now you're back to here. And it drives an introvert up the wall. Because if we say something wrong, it won't bother us for an hour, or a day, or a week, or a year. Sometimes I recall something that I said or did when I was in junior high school, and I go, why did I say that? So this is why introverts will appear to be more reserved, because if it's right, and it's right in our head, and then we say it and it comes out right, we're okay. But if it doesn't, oh man, it's catastrophic.
Yes.
It's catastrophic.
She said something about intro, extra.
Right.
I was just thinking, like, my process is I'll internalize it.
Right.
But then I have to get my trusted people to then wordsmith it with them.
Right.
To be like, what do you think before so what's that level? What's
It's
that?
the same thing, because what happens is the power of an introvert is preparation. If we're prepared, then we can go out in the world and we can be outgoing and enthusiastic. And so you will hear some people say, I used to be an introvert, now I'm an extrovert. No, they're not an extrovert. What they are is they're prepared in a space, and they feel comfortable that anything they say is going to come out right. And they're not going to have to beat themselves up for saying something wrong. So what you do is you test it first in a small group, a small trusted circle, and then you go out. So one of the biggest challenges for me when I left the military and I said I wanted to go into business for myself was that very thing. I said, well, I'm an introvert. I don't know if introverts can succeed in business, because business is what? Business is primarily social. It's primarily social. And it's not that I'm antisocial, I don't like to be social, but the fact is, was I prepared to do something like that? And the answer was no. So how was I going to prepare myself to be able to go out and do this thing called business, especially when it moves so fast? And context-wise, I retired in 2009. So it was a bad time to be going out and starting a business at that time. But but business didn't move as rapidly as it moves now in these days. So I had some time to be able to try to figure all of this stuff out. So that being the case, so when I retired and I said, I don't want to work for anybody anymore, I tried a few different things. Business was not my first choice for that very reason. So anybody know about options trading? You know about, you know how risky that is? Well, I thought that would be great for me, because I could sit at my computer and I could do some options trading and make some money, and I thought that would be pretty awesome. So I took about $10,000 and I said, if I could turn this into $100,000, then I think this is going to be a path for me. I turned it into zero pretty quick. that was no longer an option. So it became clear to me pretty quickly that business was going to be the way, the most controllable way for me to achieve what I wanted, to accomplish what I wanted, which was freedom. I wanted freedom of time. I wanted freedom of my ability to earn. I didn't want somebody telling me how much money I could and could not make. I wanted to be able to make as much money as my skills, talents, and abilities will allow. I wanted freedom of time from the perspective of somebody saying, oh, I want to go on a vacation. I want to go this way. You can't do that because you need, you don't have time off. You don't have any more time to be able to do that. So you can't do that. I wanted all that kind of freedom. So that's why I eventually figured out that business was the way to go. And the other thing is because businesses make money.
That's right. Yes.
Businesses make money. That's why you go into business. But interesting story here, when I first started down this path, I was sitting in the audience like this, and there was a lady standing up on the stage, and she said, "You're in business to make money." And I sat back there and I said, "I'm in business to make a difference. I'm in business to help people. I'm in business to solve problems." And what do you think I said next?
And then make money.
I said, "The money will take care of itself."
Yeah.
How many of you ever heard that?
Yeah,
How many of you
that's
ever
true.
said that? Okay, if I do a good job, if I have a good product, if I have a good service, the money's gonna take care of itself. People just gonna, they're gonna flock to me because I'm the best.
I don't know if they're
to
gonna
solve
flock
their
to you
problem. No, they did not. So after about 2 years of working, putting together, doing good work and volunteering and doing all this kind of stuff, and I didn't make any money, I said, we're in business to make money. it was a hard lesson that I should have learned and done right from the beginning. But businesses make money, and of course, you are in business to make money. So the businesses you're in, all the people in this room, you all have just chosen real estate to be the vehicle of business that you're using. But every business is based on the same fundamental foundations. So as I moved, so when I left the military, I decided to go into a franchise because I didn't know what I was doing. I was very skeptical about my ability to succeed on my own, so I went into a franchise. It was a leather restoration bond repair business, and I told you, I see the look on your face, you're like, what? And that's exactly the look I got from most people. Here I am, a retired colonel who was in the chair force. And even my wife said, why are you going into this business? You don't even like working with your hands. And now you're gonna be fixing people's stuff. But my philosophy was, I went into the business because the CEO had 200 franchises and he wanted 800. He was in Canada and he wanted to expand to the US. So I figured that his success was based on my success. He was gonna do everything he could in his power to help me. That turned out to be the best decision for me because I just needed to learn how to be a CEO. I needed to learn how to do all the things that business people did. And I figured that after a period of time, I would then realize and recognize what my marketable skill was, and I could take that business experience and knowledge that I had and transfer it into something that was more natural for me. So that was the progression, and it was money too, because you need money. Growth sucks cash. And I just didn't have a whole lot of it, but I had enough to get into a small franchise business. So that was my strategy moving forward. Again, it was strategically thinking, okay, if I want to be here at some point in the future, where am I right now? What do I have, and how do I leverage that in order to get there? And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is strategic thinking as you are growing and managing your business to get to whatever particular desired outcome you have. Let me ask you a quick question. How many of you know how much money you want or need to make? Let's just say from January 2027 to December of 2027, how much money do you need to make?
You want the actual figure?
Yeah, if you know.
On paper, I have written down 150,000.
Okay, all right. Anybody else know and that's, you need to know that. Does anybody else know the specific number or have a specific number like that?
Yeah.
You are definitely
Yeah.
an introvert.
Mine's a lot higher than that.
What's that?
I say mine's a lot higher than that.
Yeah, mine is very high. Mine is exceptionally high.
Mine is too.
Yeah, you know, so,
And I projected out, like, so I have a spreadsheet,
Mhm.
like the next 5 years.
Yes.
Based on my projected
Yes.
sales,
Yes.
income,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she's in Oxford.
Right. I'm listening. She's
Yeah.
definitely type A.
Strategically thinking, strategically measuring.
It's even when I
That's-
put my phones down, it's like.
I'm an insurance broker, if that means anything, so.
Okay.
That's right.
That's right, sure.
So, when we're talking strategy, the other thing that I recognize as I walk down this path is, as a solopreneur starting out, you have no people, you have no money, you have very little time, and you have to nurture that into something that is going to get you to that desired outcome. There's a game, I think it was called 21 Questions. The 21 questions.
Yes.
And when your 21 questions run out, if you don't have the right answer, then you lose the game. And when you're a solopreneur, it's much like that. You have so many opportunities to grow that money, and if you make too many wrong decisions, you're gonna be out of the game. So you have to be very strategic in the way you're managing that, and that's very important as we go forward, so we'll get into that a little bit. But having that specific number, the other thing about having that specific number, a couple of things. One, most people, when I ask them how much money they want to make, as Justin said before, he said it's 6 figures. I just want to make 6 figures. Most people that I work with, most of my clients over here say $100,000. They want $100,000. They want to put $100,000 in their pocket, and they're satisfied with that. So we're not talking about people who want to build multi-million-dollar businesses. But if you want to build a multi-million-dollar business, you still have to have your number. Whatever that number is, you have to have it, because it's going to tell you how much work you have to do. And if you say, I want to be a billionaire, what are you going to have to do to get from 0 to $1 billion? And how long is it going to take you to get there based upon whatever vehicle you have chosen in order to try to make that path, in order to try to make that journey? So I'm going to burst a bubble here. How many of you have been A students in school? A students. That's an A student. Yeah, oh, we got a room full of A students. We got a room full of A students.
You got a class full of nerds.
So I don't want to discourage you, but there's no right answer. There's no right answer. In school, if you got 100 on the test and you got 100 on every test, you're gonna get an A. And if you get enough A's, you're gonna be the top student in your class. And so we've been trained by school and by our parents that there's right answers. Well, here there are no right answers. I've had people who say, well, what am I supposed to do? And I said, well, it kind of depends on what do you want, like Alice said to the Mad Hatter. Mad Hatter said, hey, if you don't know where you want to go, then any direction is fine, right? So as we talk about this environment that we're functioning and operating in, you have to suspend this idea that I have to get the right answer, and the right answer is going to get me there. So what is the alternative? You have to get the best answer for you under your circumstances. And as your circumstances change, you're also going to have to change your best answers. And like I mentioned earlier, I was in the military, and we routinely had to operate with maybe 65 or 75% of the information that we needed to make the best decision, but you make the decision, you execute the decision, and then you make another decision, and then you make another decision until you achieve the desired outcome. And of course, when I started in business, like I said, it was the wild, wild west. People told me I was going to survive by persistence and luck. Now, I was a Division I basketball player in college, and I was in the military for 27 years. If we relied on persistence and luck, we would never win anything.
Right.
So as I started out in business and I'm looking at this idea of persistence and luck, I said, no, there's got to be a better way. And so I set out to figure out what that better way was. And so we all set our plan, and our plan is, yeah, I'm going to start here and I'm going to be at $1 billion in probably about 6 months or so. I got a really good plan. We don't even say $1 billion. We don't even have that yet. We have nothing. We just say, I'm gonna make as much money as I can.
Yeah.
And so even when you have no outcome that you're going towards, then you have the reality of so many different things come up. So the most difficult thing for me when I started out in this business was the emotions of it, the ups and the downs, the ins and the outs. I had to wake up and I would look myself in the mirror in the morning and I would say, don't let how you feel determine how you act. Because if I let my feelings determine my actions, I just went back to bed. So some days you feel good, some days you feel, why did I do this? That's the nature of it. And the two things that you're dealing with, the two emotions that you're dealing with are uncertainty, number one, and overwhelm, number two. You're uncertain about the decisions that you're going to make and whether or not you're going to have the outcome that you want to have. And that is debilitating. That can drain your energy in a heartbeat. And then being overwhelmed because there's so many different things that you have to consider in business. What do I do today? Which one of these hundreds of things do I do today? So we're going to talk about those. Strategy helps when we start getting into talking about those. I have a process called mission mapping, and mission mapping is based upon having a desired outcome. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in detail, but having a desired outcome and then getting from where you are to where you want to be. But I want you to take this little quiz real quick. And how many of you, if you just use the numbering system, but who already understands what their exit strategy is? Who knows what their exit strategy is? Anybody have an exit strategy? Kind of?
Yes.
Okay, kind of, a little bit. Do you know precisely how much revenue you need? And we know we have one who knows precisely how much revenue. So if you haven't decided on your exit strategy, that'll be a 1. If you don't know precisely how much revenue you need, that's going to be a 1. Have you listed a sequence of activities that will lead you to your desired outcome? Have you mapped out any sort of a progression? If you have, that'll be a 2. If you have not, that'll be a 1. Do you have a written price list for all of your products? Because remember, I'm speaking to general audiences, primarily real estate is your vehicle. You know, on an average, based on the community you're farming, if you're actually at the sales part of this right now, you kind of have an idea of how much money you make on each deal that you're doing. And then, but do you have it written? Do you know? Justin had up a profit and loss statement that showed the tracking of money. And then the final one is, do you have a written sales process, policy guidelines, and an operational manual? No, 1, yes, 2. Now, I'm going to get into the stages in a minute, but if you have 5, 6, or 7 points, you're probably pre-revenue, probably not making a whole bunch of money yet, and you're winging it. You're just going day to day, doing the best you can. If you have 8 or 9 points, then you probably have revenue coming in, but you don't necessarily know where that revenue is coming from. So if anything changes in the environment around you, you're probably going to lose it. Like Google changes their algorithm or something, you're probably gonna lose it. And you're probably purposeful in the actions that you're taking though. And you'll see that in a minute. If you have 10 points, you're profitable, you're intentional, you're systematic, and you're making some money.
I have a question
Question.
about that, please. So I received 8,
Mhm.
but I often in my mind, in my brain, being an introvert, now that I understand what it is for real, feel like I'm winging it.
Mhm.
And everybody's like, but you're not. But I feel like, because I feel like I need to be a team.
Mhm.
That makes sense what I'm saying?
It goes back to the first presentation today. Marvetta
Marvetta
talked about imposter syndrome.
Gotcha.
Imposter syndrome.
Okay.
So that's what you're experiencing with yourself. You're saying, everybody else is saying I'm great, but I just don't feel it inside. I don't feel it inside. And that definitely impacts your ability to achieve the success that you're looking for, because you're in your own way.
So you do that.
You're in your
Gotcha.
own way.
That's confirmation.
So
Thank
that's
you.
why. So that's why.
Yes, somebody
But
else.
because you're doing the right thing, and the other thing is, you are results focused and results oriented. So when you hit the results, that's gonna validate what you're doing. We can control a lot of things, and I talk about in business, positioning yourself for the type of success that you want. And you can position yourself, but you can't guarantee anything, because things change all around you. But if you're positioned, then you go from average chances of success to superior chances of success. And then the only thing is how creative, adaptively, and those sorts of things.
But also too, for introverts too, we are also those people that, when it's something that we're familiar with and we're in control of it, then we're more, confident. It's when those times you get put in positions where somebody else wanted you to be in that role, somebody else thought you were great for it. That's, if you're not confident, then no, you're probably not gonna, you're gonna be like, yeah. So that's what you're also experiencing.
It is, and it goes back to, because if we're prepared, we perform at a very high level. If somebody throws us into a situation where we're not prepared,
Right.
then we become untethered.
Right.
And you're untethered and you're unanchored, and you're trying to find the anchor, and until you find the anchor,
Right.
it's hard for you to perform. So the only thing that you can do in that situation is control what you do within that space. So you tell them what you're gonna do
That's it.
instead of letting them tell you what you're gonna do. And I did that in the military. When I was in the military, I chose my jobs. I didn't very often, I don't think there was any time when we were in the military that I let somebody send, Germany. When they sent me to Germany. Holy cow, yeah.
But it was good.
She said it
So-
was good.
It was very good.
It was very good. It was good. I learned some very good. My goal when I was in the military was leadership. I was fascinated by it, and they threw me in a situation where I was a policy strategy guy in the military, and they put me in intel.
Oh, wow.
And I'm in intelligence, and I had no experience, no training, no nothing, and they didn't give me any. They just, you're going to Germany, you're gonna be chief, you're gonna be deputy division chief of the Intel Plans and Requirements Division. Good luck, see you. This is April, show up in July. But what I learned is, I was deathly afraid, because intelligence is obviously populated by very intelligent people who are doing intelligence work. And so I'm thinking, they're gonna send me into this community of people who are insanely smart, and I'm supposed to lead them? How's that gonna work? But what I figured out, what I experienced is, when I got there, strategically minded and saying, this is what this division is supposed to do, and I could give them that. They figured out how to get us there.
Right.
And it was phenomenal.
And that's why they selected you, because your strategic thought process.
And they handpicked me for that job. And I had experience, it was in Germany, so I had experience in that area of the world with previous jobs that I had. So this is something that I want, when I ask everybody to commit to memory. I got my PhD in organization development, and my dissertation was organization design for small business. How can you become more intentional and purposeful about achieving success? I told you I studied 75 business owners who started with zero, built their companies to 100 million in annual revenue, and I focused on what they did in the pre-profitability stage. Because that's the area of business owners that were not being helped. Why were they not being helped? They're not making any money. By definition, they're pre-profitable. So how do you build a profitable business helping people who are not making any money? But for me, that was the people who needed the help the most, and I had to figure out, how am I going to do that? So because I'm naturally strategic, that's my gift, and then putting together the organization development as my approach, I pulled out this information, and the definition of strategy that I want to apply here is how to get from where you are to where you want to be. A couple of reasons. Number one is simple. A solopreneur doesn't have a lot of time to learn a lot of complicated things. We don't have time. I can make a strategy definition that goes from here to here, and it would be accurate and it would be complete, but it would be useless. And you would walk away from here going, damn, Dr. Barnes is smart. That guy is brilliant. But you wouldn't be able to do anything with it. With this definition, there's 3 components. And you've seen this before because some of the other presenters talked about it. Terry talked about it in her presentation. She called it the gap, but it's the same thing. Where are you? Where do you want to be? And how do you connect the dots? The where you want to be part is where most business owners starting out fall down because they haven't quantified where they want to be. And you have to quantify in 2 categories: money and meaningfulness. If you go after the money without the meaningfulness, it's going to be unfulfilling, and soon enough you're going to quit. Because most people, a study shows that most people can make it on about $70,000. And most of us in this room figure, you gotta be kidding me, because we're used to a higher standard of living, but they say 70. Most of the people I talk to, who I work with, as I mentioned, they want 100. So how do you get from where you are to where you want to be? You have to quantify it. So making more money, if your life is miserable, isn't going to get you to continue to move forward. So you have to have the meaningfulness. And the meaningfulness is what drives you. And people call me disciplined. And I say, I'm not disciplined. I'm the worst disciplined person you could ever meet. However, when you are determined, discipline is a byproduct of determination. When you're determined to do something, you're going to do it. When your desired outcome is strong enough, you're going to do it. And you don't need anybody else to hold you accountable. You're going to do it. So having that where you want to be, so how do you get from where you are to where you want to be? 3 components. So now you can say, okay, if I want to do 100,000, and then, the other thing about meaningfulness is, meaningful without the money is unsustainable. Is unsustainable. And I beat my clients up. Do not apologize for your number. Your number is your number. I don't care if it's 150,000 or if it's $50 million a year. Your number is your number. You're going to go after your number. That's the important thing. So money, meaningfulness, without the money is unsustainable. So I beat them up to make sure that they stop being apologetic for the amount of money they have. Stop saying the money will take care of itself. If you don't ask people for the money, you're not going to get it. Business is a value for value exchange. For benefit, you deserve compensation. And don't ever forget that. If you have a problem asking for money, find yourself a pit bull.
I like that.
Dramatic different where you wanna be. Now, the other thing about strategy is, it's all about thinking. The key word is thinking. In this environment, things change so rapidly, information flows so profusely. You have AI, which makes information readily available. So access to information is no longer a benefit as it used to be. If he who had the most information won in past times, now that's no longer the case, because everybody has access to information. So when you get that information, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Dr. Brown, I was gonna ask you, with the onset of AI,
Right.
it has become a topic even at graduations
Yes.
where people said, you know, presenters are tone deaf
Mm-hmm.
about the impact of AI.
Right.
How do you see strategy development now for businesses with that consideration? Thinking about that statement,
Mhm.
right, with all the research you know, but knowing that AI
Mhm.
duplicates itself and iterates itself so quickly.
Because AI doesn't think.
Right.
Because generative AI does not think. And if you send it through iteration and iteration and iteration and iteration, after a while it's gonna hallucinate. Because now it's, you know, so it doesn't have the capacity to think. AI is a great tool for starting. The worst part about writing a book or creating a speech or doing anything of that nature is the initial seed and starting out. But you can jump into ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini or whatever, and you can say, go ahead. 10 minutes? Okay. All right, so let me go through. So anyway,
This is
thinking
good
as far
class,
as
Dr. Brown. It's good.
You need to take it online.
And so, and you have to move forward with the information you had, as I said earlier, while you're continuing to research, to learn more about the problems, the people, the product, pricing, and processes. I'm gonna say one other thing that came out of my PhD, which was, I'm a basketball player. And in the game of basketball, you cannot play the game if you can't dribble, pass, and shoot. Nobody's gonna put you on their team as a kid. They're gonna say, I don't want him on my team, he can't dribble, he can't shoot, he won't pass. Basic fundamentals. So another thing that came out of my research in my dissertation was, and this was very important to me, I said, well, what are the basic business fundamentals in business? Because up to that point, as I mentioned, everything was the wild, wild west. They would throw something against the wall and see what sticks.
Yes.
And that kind of stuff didn't hit my brain at all. So I wanted to know what the basic business, I found 2 books that said basic business fundamentals, and they were both 300 pages long. No, those are not fundamentals. So anyway, I did, so anyway, fundamentals did emerge, and there were 3. And I had criteria for them, and one of the criteria was, when you hear them, if you don't go, oh my God, of course those are fundamentals, then they weren't fundamentals. So these are the 3. Number 1 is selling. So, yeah, of course, I mean, if you're not selling, you're not making money. If you're not making money, you're not in business. You're a philanthropy. You're not even a nonprofit, because nonprofits need money.
Right.
Selling. How many of you in the room like to sell?
Realtors.
I was gonna say, I
I'm trying to
assumed
say
that.
I don't sell.
I said, I was gonna assume a higher number in this room because of who I'm speaking to, but most of the time, most rooms I get 2 out of 10. About 20% say.
But you don't think, because of the people that we are, we don't really consider ourselves salespeople, more as, right?
Well,
Relationship
well,
builders,
so that's a perfect segue into business fundamental number 2 is cultivating relationships. And those 2 words are key, cultivating relationships. You gotta cultivate them, you have to grow them over time, and if you can't do that, every one of these 75 business owners did that. If any one of them did not do that, then it didn't count. And then the 3rd business fundamental is research. If you can't research, business is really a process of overcoming obstacles. And you won't see the next obstacle until you overcome the one that's right in front of you. I need money. So even though you need people, you can't get people until you overcome I got the money process, part of it. There are, of course, nuances and ways you can manipulate that, different things, different strategies and approaches you can use, but basically, my point is, obstacles present themselves once, like Martin Luther King said, he step on that first stair. You may not see the top stair, but, so anyway, selling, cultivating relationships, and research. Simple but not easy. My whole objective with this whole thing was keep it simple. We have so much on our plate that if we take too much more on, we just procrastinate. So you have to keep it simple. So oversimplification, we want to be in the business of making money while making a difference. Money and meaningfulness, we want to cover both of those. And
Can you go back one?
sure.
Thank you.
And just to hit something in here, because I'm not gonna have time to get through the whole presentation, so something that we put in here is, people will pay you if you have a solution for which they're willing and able to pay, and you're solving a problem that is painful, urgent, has consequences, and is emotional.
Say that one more time.
Painful, urgent, has consequences, and is emotional.
That's a real estate transaction all day long.
And so a lot of people, many people don't lead with that. They lead with, I can help you do this, and I can help you do this, and I'm good at this, and I can do this, and I can do this, and they're presenting all this stuff, and they haven't even addressed the painful, urgent problem that has to have consequences. I had a phone that had a crack on it. I got the phone, maybe a week, it got the crack. I had the phone for 8 years. I never did anything about the crack, because there was no consequences to me. I could do everything I wanted on the phone. Why go spend money to do anything? But when I went to turn the phone in, you know what they told me? It's damaged, we can't turn it in. So what do you think I did? I went to the nearest screen repair place and I paid $60 to have it fixed. Because that $60 meant that I was gonna be able to save $600. It had consequence at that point. So I took money out of my pocket and I paid for it. So when you think about
What was
those
the
things-
last one, painful, urgent, has consequences and?
and it's emotional. Emotional is important in that aspect too. It was emotional for me to not be able to get $600. If the emotional part of it, so you think about that, and you think about we in real estate, people want to live in a home they want to live in a house that's a home. So I don't know how much more I'm gonna get through this. So let me hit this. Stages. I'm gonna go with this. There are 4 stages. I'm gonna get the first 2. So when you're pre-revenue and you're pre-profitable, in order to reduce the amount of overwhelm, you need to be able to focus on what do I need to do now. Time's up?
That's what she said.
Okay.
No,
Okay, wrap up. She said wrap up.
Okay.
So I got time to wrap up.
5 minutes.
So in this early stage, you're in crisis because you're wearing all of the hats. You have to do everything. You don't have people, you don't have money, you don't have time, you don't even really know what you're doing. So you need to focus on capability development. What am I developing that's gonna help me acquire clients? What is that problem and what is my solution and how can I solve that problem? That's capability. You're gonna be looking at customers one-to-one. You're gonna have to do face-to-face selling, persuading people that what you do and that you can solve their problem. You're gonna learn a lot. It's gonna give you market research, and you need to be able to track your money. Very important. Now, when you move into stage 2, now you're more stable and you can focus on capability acceleration. You know who buys from you, you know why they buy from you, and now you can target those people and spend your money directly on acquiring them as customers and clients. You build your systems and everything to focus on that group of people. So now you can go after companies. Your revenue is based on companies, not individuals. It's based on sources, not individuals. You know who your demographics are. Now you can start doing mass marketing. You're spending your money on the people. You're spending your money to get visibility with the people who want you to solve their problem, need you to solve their problem. You probably have to get a bookkeeper and then looking at a board of advisors. Last thing I'll hit here is exit. 2 ways you can exit. but you have to have certain things in order to exit. I used to do a presentation called Sell, Scale, or Fail. If you haven't decided whether you're building your company for sale, building your company for scale, then when it comes time for you to sell your company or retire, you're not gonna be ready to do it. In order to be able to sell, you're gonna have to have a valuation, you're gonna have to have systems, they're going to want to, they're gonna need to see that your business can run without you, and how they're gonna incorporate their business in their larger company or whatever it may be. You have to have these things in order for that. If you don't have these things in place, it's gonna take you about 3 to 7 years. Investors want their money back in about 3 to 7 years if they're gonna give you money. So these are some of the things that you have to be able to do. Now, if you're gonna scale your company, you wanna do that because when you take money from people though, they're gonna take authority and autonomy from you. So you have to be ready to do that. But if you wanna sell in 3 to 7 years, you don't care. You want, growth sucks cash. You need as much of it as you can. And so, but if you're gonna do this, you wanna maintain control of your company. You wanna maintain autonomy. You need to have a succession plan, somebody who can replace you. It's gonna grow organically, so it's gonna be a little bit more slow, so you have to have patience. But that's exit ready. So that's my time. Went over my time. But hope this was useful for you.
Yeah, do you have a part 2B, what?
Yeah. There's a
You
lot.
gonna do it online, social media, Zoom?
Yeah, so if you want more information, my website is sistrosolutions.com.
Sistro.
Sistro,
It's in the
S-Y-S,
bottom right corner.
yeah, S-Y-S-T-R-O, sistrosolutions.com. I'm on LinkedIn. RC Barnes is www.linkedin.com/in/RC Barnes, and then you'll get me. Yeah, reach out, connect, and I'll be happy to talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is amazing.
It's linkedin.com/in/RC Barnes,
Do you do
B-A-R-N-E-S.
Do you do mentorships?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. You gonna do that.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time, attention, participation.